Welcome to the Unity Guides Expert Interview Series. My name is Clayton Stenson. I'll be your host today. This series is brought to you by Unity Guides Incorporated, where we help develop Unity within companies running on the entrepreneurial operating system. We do this through fractional integrator services and relationship coaching for the visionary and integrator. And the reason I started this interview series is that I've met some pretty amazing people in recent years, and the conversations we've had have been valuable to me. So I thought I should share them with other people to add value to them as well. So today's guest is Scott Ritzheimer. Scott is a scale architect and visionary coach in Atlanta. Welcome, Scott.
Hey, Clayton. This has been a long time coming getting to this point, but I'm excited to be here. I'm excited for this conversation. We've had some really cool conversations offline, and now we hit record and share it with the world. Yeah,
it's going to be good. So today's topic is one that really opened my eyes, something that Scott calls VOPS. So I'm going to pass it over to Scott. Can you tell us a little bit about VOPS and what it is?
What is VOPS? Let's spell that real quick. VOPS, acronym for 4 different leadership styles. I'm going to approach it a little different than I normally do because I know a lot of your folks are familiar with EOS. We've got some language that crosses over and some that doesn't. So what is it? It is the set of 4 leadership styles that show up in any environment, any group of 2 or more. Anytime you try and get 2 people working together, right, you will start to run into both the benefits of and challenges from the different leadership styles that those individuals have. Mm-hmm. And in the EOS world, the kind of classic version of this is the visionary integrator relationship, combination, if you will. And so one of the things that's happening is you have your visionary. That's the V in VOPS. It's also the visionary in EOS. In EOS, it's a position. In VOPS, it's a leadership style. So you might have multiple visionaries on your team, right? You only have one EOS visionary. So when we use the term visionary from now on, unless we're clear about it, we're talking about a leadership style, not a position in an org chart or the owner of an organization. They happen to be the same person. Most visionaries in EOS are visionaries, right? So, but there's a nuance between those. One's a position and one is a leadership style. And then you have the integrator. And if you're doing the math, right, if we have 4 minus 1, there's 3 left over. And oftentimes what you see is that integrators kind of have to fill all 3 other spots all at once. So one of the primary reasons why, if you've been around the EOS world for a while, if you've tried to find an integrator for a while, you know they can be tough to find. I think the ratio is something like 4 to 1, I've heard Mark Winters say, but the reason for that is you're looking for a very, very specific combination of those other 3 styles and enough visionary to talk to you. So what are these other 3 styles? How do you fit all of them in one person? What does all this look like? All right, so we've got our visionary. Now, visionaries, especially early on in their organization's history, will realize something. Maybe intuitively, maybe consciously, it doesn't really matter, they'll figure it out. They will realize they love to start things. They will very quickly also realize they hate to finish things, right? The peak moment of endorphin rush for a visionary is that moment that they get the inspiration, the idea, they find a solution to a problem they've been thinking about for a while. Implementing that is no fun at all, right? It just sucks all the joy out of it. We just want to come up with the idea and then now we have to implement it. What the heck is this? And so we realized pretty early on, we've got to find someone to help us out. We got to find someone who can get stuff done. We got to find someone who can take these ideas that we have and really build them into, something executable. And so we go out, and if we get this right, which a lot of folks do, maybe not the first time or the second time, but eventually we get this right, and we find this person that we call an operator, right? What is an operator? These are folks who get stuff done, right? It's a Christian way of saying that. They just get an enormous amount of work done. We call them fish because they're first in and they're still here, right? They get there early, they leave late, and they do an enormous amount of work in between. Now, they might cut a corner or two to make things happen faster. If you give them an opportunity to go from A to C and not do B and not get in trouble for it, they're going to go A to C every single time. They will walk through walls to see your vision come to pass, and it's magical. You get that visionary operator combination working well, especially early on for organizations, and it is, forgive the combination of ideas here, but that is rocket fuel, right? It's that thing that gets the rocket up off the ground. And so oftentimes what you'll see, especially early on, is that integrator is primarily this operator style, right? The right-hand man, right-hand woman is the one who just goes and gets stuff done. It's the executive pastor in a church startup. It's the director of ops, because we don't know what else to call them, who gets everything done. Might even be your virtual assistant early on, right? And just having someone who gets stuff done. As visionaries, we need folks who finish stuff. But we're still only at 2 of the 4 styles here. So what's going on? Well, as an organization tends to grow, what happens over time is that the complexity starts to build up, right? When it was just you didn't have anyone to even argue with, right? It was all in your own head. And now that you've got 5, 10 people, you can still fit them around a table and have a conversation. And one day you're at 10 to 50 people, right? And it's starting to get hard to get them all in the same room. That's just one example of how the complexity starts to build up. You used to have 2 customers, now you have 200. You used to have 3 SKUs, now you got 3,000. You used to operate in 1 state, now it's 7. It doesn't matter what it is, but when you look, every single dial in the organization is going up in terms of complexity. It's not a bad thing. It's the direct result of success. You want to stop that from happening. Stop selling something, right? It's not so much that the complexity is a problem in and of itself, especially not one to be avoided necessarily. But what it does when you've got our visionary, right? We say they have a very high squirrel factor. Have you ever seen the Pixar movie Up? And it's got the little dog Doug in it.
Yeah.
And Doug's got a collar so he actually has his own TV series now. It's amazing. Highly recommend it.
Oh, really?
If you have kids.
Okay.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's like a couple of short, it's cool. But anyway, Doug is your classic visionary, right? He wants to be part of all of it. His tail's wagging. He's happy as a lark. And then squirrel, he's up a tree, right? He's just gone. And he comes back a scene later and, it's, well, catch me up. What's going on? And squirrel, he's up another tree. It's like, you cannot pin this guy down. And our visionaries are like that. They'll come into a meeting and the only thing that you can guarantee they won't talk about is whatever was on the agenda, because they're bored with that. They're on to something else. And so you've got this high squirrel factor visionary. You've got the operator who's willing to cut corners to get the job done. Not in a mean-spirited way, but just in an opportunistic, hey, we're gonna make a shortcut here, right? Now, there isn't one. Well, let's make it. And so you've got the Wild West happening in these organizations with visionaries and operators. It's chaos and cowboys and everything in between. And you start screwing up. You start, like, stuff that was just normal blocking and tackling. You've got so many people doing so many different things. You just can't manage all of it anymore. And it's usually the visionary who, by virtue of the fact that they're looking a little further down the road, recognizes this can't keep happening this way, right? We can't just keep making up as we go. It's going to get really scary. It's going to get really risky if we keep doing this, because we can screw up in these 1,000 little areas, but if we screw up in one of these big areas, it's like reputational risk, game over for us as a company. What are we going to do? And they usually get the novel idea of going out and hiring a professional of some sort, right? Somebody, oftentimes from the big business world, maybe be a CFO or a controller or a chief legal officer or someone from HR. Basically, wherever we're screwing up, we go and hire somebody who we hope can help us stop screwing up.
Yeah.
And these types of people, they tend to think very differently than visionaries and operators. It's exactly why we need them, but it's exactly why they drive us crazy. These folks, they think in terms of system and process, right? Where visionaries and operators default to yes, these systems people, they default to no, right? Hey, no. I haven't finished the sentence yet, but no, we can't do anything else. We already can't do what we're trying to do. Where visionaries in particular are highly risk averse, they do their best work when it's all on the line in the 11th hour. These new folks that we've brought into the organization, they think if we're doing work in the 11th hour, we've failed. Right? Where our operators stay until the job is done, these new people who come in leave whenever it's time to leave, as if that's a thing, right? 5 o'clock, magically nothing else needs to get done. They don't think like us. They don't act like us. And if we're honest about it, they don't really get us. They don't have the same culture as us. These systems people are what we call processors. They are the P of the VOPS model. And as frustrating as they are, especially to visionaries and operators, they are a critical piece if you want to scale your business. You cannot sustainably scale a business or a nonprofit without them. It's not possible because you will just keep getting in your own way. At their best, what these processors do is bring sustainability. When you marry that skill for system and process, for understanding and architecture, and you couple that together with the visionary ideas and the operator drive, it's that combination of all three strengths that creates the ability to scale. But as most folks who are listening to this can viscerally attest, that is a painful process, trying to get these three working together. It is not easy. It's not fun. In fact, most of the time when a client brings me in, one of the most common things they'll use to describe just what's going on in their organization is it's just not fun anymore. And if they're honest, it's usually because Jeff isn't a very fun person to work with, right? And he doesn't see things the way that we do. And so, especially for visionaries, we intuitively get that we need this, but we just can't buy into the fact that it's going to cost us this much, right? Yeah. We ask our operator to go stir up the accounts receivable so we can have cash. It's a Wednesday. We need cash for payroll to go out. And what do? They go do it. So fast forward a couple years, we've got a CFO now. They're responsible for receivables. And so the CEO goes to the CFO and says, hey, we need to stir up the receivables. I noticed cash is a little low, and we've got payroll coming up. We're going to make it, but it's going to be tight. I'd rather have a little more margin. Yeah. CFO says, well, when you say stir it up, do you want me to call them or do you want me to email them? Are you looking for me to contact folks that are over a certain threshold? I mean, do you really want me calling people who owe us $3.62? If they've owed us money for 180 days, but we haven't heard from them since, do you still want me to contact them? Do you want me to send you the list before I contact them? Do you want me to get it over to the sales team so we can tag team some of the bigger ones? Is this something that you want me to do every single week, right? I can see the pain in your eyes right now, and our visionaries are feeling the same thing. It's this exquisite but excruciating level of detail. And let's say we've got a very, very patient visionary in this situation, right? We caught them on a good day. They're not pressed for time. They kindly answer this litany of questions. Friday comes and the visionary looks at the bank account balance and it is like danger low, right? Like scary low, hasn't been this low in years. What's going on? There's no way that the CFO did their job, right? So they call the CFO, they're hot. I mean, they are livid now. I was patient, I answered all their questions, and there's still no money in the account. What's going on? And the CFO's like, well, did you see it? Did I see what? Did you see the memo I left for you on your desk? Right? It's like, First off, the visionary hasn't been to their desk, let's be honest, in like 6 weeks. And the last thing they're going to do is read a memo on their desk, right? So the processors sitting there saying, like, they have designed this whole new process for making sure we never get into this financial cash crunch ever because of our new receivables policy. They want to get it approved so that they can execute on it. The visionary doesn't care. They just want cash in the bank. And so, you know, what the unfortunate part of this is that oftentimes the experiment fails. Right? We just think they're just not like us. They just don't get us. And we either fire them outright, happens all the time. Maybe we don't fire them, but we just kind of push them off into a corner and we keep doing our thing. Many times the processor just gets sick of it and leave, right? They're like, hey, I don't want to go to jail with all you guys. Yeah. It's not worth it. And we find ourselves again with our visionary and our integrator, right? Or maybe our visionary operator combination, and we're just exhausted, right? Especially the integrator. So many times I come in and the integrator is so burnt out and crispy because not only are they trying to get everything done, they're fighting all the fires that the visionary has made, let's be honest. They've been doing all these processes that the processor just added onto their plate, and they're just over it, right? And so there has to be a better way, right? There has to be a way of getting, if we need these 3 styles to scale, there has to be a way of getting them to work together. And fortunately, there is. So we've talked about visionaries, operators, and processors. Those are the natural styles that we tend to be born some combination of those 3, right? You know, either what we'd call a dominant visionary, or maybe a visionary operator, or a rare visionary processor mix, or any combination of those 3. And over time, we start to realize, hey, you've heard the saying, to a hammer, everything's a nail, right? Well, to a visionary, everything is solved by a new idea or a new product. And to an operator, everything is solved by stop talking about it, just get it done. Yeah. And we start to recognize that that's not actually how you solve every problem. We actually need to lean into the other styles. Operators need the vision from visionaries. Visionaries need the sustainability from processors. We all need each other. And what we start to do when you look at executive teams that are able to achieve what we call predictable success and sustain it, right? For, German pharmaceutical company Merck did it for 200 years. Wow. The key to doing that is getting this VOP team working together, and the way that you do that is by developing the 4th style. The 4th style is what we call a synergist leader. And it's different from the other 3 styles in that it is a learned style. It's not something that most of us are just naturally born with. It's something that we learn over in the school of hard knocks, if you will. It's where we start becoming we start developing our EQ. We start to look for, hey, who could help me with this, as opposed to just trying to ram it through ourselves. And so we become more synergistic visionaries. We become more synergistic operators. We become more synergistic processors. And when you do, you see the relational and functional glue and bridges start to form between these different styles. And we start to unlock their strengths. We start to mitigate their weaknesses. We all but eliminate the gridlock that comes from these different styles. And we're off to the races. We've finally achieved scalability because we've finally built a team capable of it.
That felt like a comedy story. That was just, and I think it's. I'm smiling and laughing because I've experienced this, right? I've experienced these 4 types of people, and as you're speaking, I'm thinking of my current client. I'm like, yeah, that's a V, that's an O, that's a P. And I'm more the synergist type. Yeah. Right. So it's really interesting. And I think sometimes we do a disservice to ourselves when we just put visionary integrator only. Right. And I think I've noticed over the years that integrator, like you said, the needs are different. Right, in different stages of the company, right? And
that's exactly right.
I'm not an operator. I did your assessment and realized I'm not an operator. I'm very low on operator. And so what does that mean? And it's not a bad thing, right? Well, it is if the role requires me to be an operator,
Yes.
right?
It's interesting. So you're speaking about a test that we have, and it's actually a free test. So anyone listening can head to scalearchitects.com, and on there you'll see a leadership styles quiz. Anyone can take it for free. Highly, highly recommended. And one of the things that you'll find if you do is that you have a score in all 4 styles. We tend to have some blend of all 4. Now there's 1 or 2 that are much stronger than the others. Sometimes there might be 3, but what you'll find is that assessment, these leadership styles, they don't define our capacity. They define our preference. They define what adds energy to us throughout the day versus what is an energy outflow. So for you, it's not that you can't get things done. It's that it takes an enormous amount of energy to just constantly be getting things across the line, right? But if you are in a situation where you can get a team together and you find the right people and you see them love getting it across the line, but you create clarity around it, you get them working on the right things, doing it at the right time, that adds energy to you. Absolutely. Right?
You're speaking my language. And I would even probably so I've done this before. It's like, man, I've got a lot on my plate. I need to go into beast mode, I call it. Right? It's like, I need to block some time and I'm just going to go into beast mode and I'm going to knock off a bunch of stuff. So I guess that would be operator mode, right? In your life.
That's right. Operators live in beast mode. It is their normal state of being. And you can imagine why that's such a beautiful thing. You can also imagine why that is so appealing to visionaries, right? You've got someone who can just go in there and just blitz stuff, like just make it happen. Visionaries and operators tend to get along really well. Now, interestingly enough, we understand why visionaries and processors don't get along, right? They're just polar opposite ends of the spectrum. But interestingly enough, the other high point of conflict in most teams is between operators and synergists. Right? I was sitting with a group, we're going through all of this, and you know, like you're laughing, this operator's kind of laughing, and he said, hey, I just have to ask a question. I'm like, what? And asks one of the other people who happens to be a very strong synergist, one of the few natural synergists out there, and says, hey, we've worked together for 7 years. This is the operator speaking to the synergist. And he says, I have no idea what you do here. Just no idea. I know what your title is. I have no idea what you do here. Because synergists don't get things done themselves. Their primary function is to get the team to get more done, right? They're catalysts for a team. Whereas operators, they don't catalyze anything. They just go and just ram it through. And so if you're talking to an operator, who do operators honor? They honor folks who get stuff done, right? They admire folks who make the diving catch or get the ball across the line or whatever abused sports analogy you want to use. And so they're sitting there thinking, like, what does this person do, right? They don't get anything done. But you pull the synergist out of the mix and watch what happens, right? 2-3 months goes by and the thing just starts to cave in on itself.
Wow. That's awesome. You also have a book that kind of dives into this, right? Tell us a little bit about your book.
Yeah, we do. So just to make sure it's clear for folks, there's a couple of books on this. They're behind me, I think on this side, by Les McEwen. Les is the gentleman who created all this. Brilliant Irish accent. Search for him. He's not Les McEwen in the Bay City Rollers, so you're going to have to filter through a couple results. He's not a rock star, but he is in the business world. So if you want to dive into these 4 styles, the best place to do it is either in the Synergist or in Do Lead. They're great books. But in working with Les, I recognized that there was another piece to this, and that is what you're talking about, in that who we need over time changes, right? And here, very specifically, the book I wrote is called The Founder's Evolution. It's for visionary leaders. Most of my clients are founders. And what it does is helps them to understand how they need to show up in that visionary role over time. Because yes, the integrator role changes over time, but the visionary role changes as well, right? You don't show up as the same guy at 500,000 as you do at 5 million or 15 million. We have to adapt and evolve as visionaries. We have to adapt and evolve as founders. And one of the key ingredients to our evolution is learning to work with and effectively manage each of these styles. Right? So mapping it together just very, very quickly, super high level. At the very beginning, you need to find operators. And operators they need to be managed. Right? They don't need to be micromanaged, but this is why things like EOS work well. What is it? It is an operating system. It is an operator system. It takes what the visionary has and gets it into a format that operators can take and run with. Operators need some vision, but they need a degree of management, which you as a visionary would not want if it was you. So you've got to learn, you're not managing you, right? Best case scenario, you're managing operators. They need some management. And so what happened, we have to develop in stage 3 of the evolution of a founder, we have to develop the skills of a manager. Very, very simple, very basic stuff. Not being the best manager in the world, but just learning how to lead operators. That's what we're trying to do. Then what happens? You get your second in command, you bring on your integrator, right? And they start handling more and more of the operators. The thing takes off, and now you got to add processors to sustain this. You've got to bring something. So it's not enough to know how to lead operators anymore. You have to learn how to lead processors as well. Mm-hmm. And that's a new skill set. Leading is not leading, right? Leading operators and leading processors is very different. What motivates them is different. How they bring their strengths is different. How you mitigate their weaknesses is different. The language that they use is different. So we've got to recognize that to step up into the next level as an organization, we as founders need to step up to the next level and learn how to lead processors. A little bit later, we have to learn how to lead synergists. We have to get this team working together. And then this is a whole nother topic for another time, but when folks are nearing the end of their career as the visionary of their organization, they're thinking about, especially founders, they're thinking about the legacy. They're thinking about, are they going to sell? Are they going to hand it off to their kids? Is someone else who's going to take it over? What do we do next? The key thing that you have to do here is it's not to hand it off to your trusty integrator who's been with you all those years. To be in that role, they're likely not best for the CEO seat. The best CEOs are almost always have a high degree of visionary leadership in them. And so the kind of last step in our evolution is to not only learn how to lead operators and processors and synergists to go after our vision, but to help lead visionaries to develop their vision. And that's the secret to successful succession. We go over all that in the book. Again, it's called The Founder's Evolution. You can get it on our website as well, scalearchitects.com. I actually made it free for everyone. So there's a digital version there. The big promise in the book is if you can figure out what stage you're in, what strengths you need to bring to the table at this stage, you can identify there's only 2 or 3 things that you really have to do well, which means there's 20, 30, 200, or 300 that you don't have to do well. Mm-hmm. Folks who have read the book and gotten back to me, it's been out for several months now, have been saving on average about 10 hours a week by implementing what they learn in the book. Wow. So just really, really powerful, really clarifying, and would love to see folks get in touch with it.
This topic has really opened my eyes. It's made me think about fractional integrators. I've met a lot of fractional integrators over the last couple of years and realized that there's different types, right? Like OPS, fractional integrators. Like there's the some that are, they're working with small companies. And they are, like you said, kind of the operator. They're just, the visionary gives them something to do. They bang it off. They just get stuff done, right? Yep. And I don't want to do that, right? Because it's not my sweet spot, right? Like I don't enjoy that. I can do it, like you said, but I don't enjoy it, and I don't add the most value there.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the challenge that synergists have in small teams, is that there's nothing to synergize. Right? You've got to be at a place organizationally where you can get a return on that. Yeah. You've got to be a place where you really do need to get visionary, operator, and processor leadership working together. And those are not brand new businesses, right? Mm-hmm. Many times, even if you need some processors to get stuff done, right? You're in a technical industry of some sort. You still don't need fully integrate processor level leadership early on.
Mhm.
And so it's really, really helpful and eye-opening for both processors and synergists to recognize I'm not deficient, right? I'm not defective, but
Yeah.
there is a right time and place for my skill set.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it's in bigger organizations than they're used to. And there's lots of reasons for that, but it's
Yeah.
super helpful to understand.
Yeah. And I already realized this, before I heard about VOPS, but VOPS put vocabulary around what I already realized,
Yes.
right? It's like, okay, yeah, I can't work with a company of 10 as a fractional. I have to work with a
No.
company of 50 plus, right?
Yeah.
Because that's where I'm going to add the most value, enjoy it the most, and have the most impact. That being said, there are still times where I need to switch into beast mode, right? And I have one of those here right now. Actually, yesterday, I realized it. I need to go into beast mode to conquer a specific problem that requires a strong leader. And I don't feel like we have one currently in that part of the organization.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be forever, right? But it's requiring me to switch into that role. And
Yeah.
I've been in that role. But
And that's exactly right. There's fluidity between these. We can roll into, especially if we've got, what we would call a secondary score in a style. You can flow in and out of secondary scores regularly, right? You just don't want to get stuck there. That's the real problem. Early in my career, and this happens to a lot of folks, especially who have my style, I'm a visionary processor. So all that conflict between visionaries and operators happens right here. And so it's one of the most commonly mistyped styles, because what is someone who's super risk seeking and super risk averse, right? Who has big ideas and then over engineers them instantly, right? Most of our frameworks don't really make room for that. And so we just kind of average them out and we think they're operators. And especially early in your career, you're getting stuff done. It's part of the deal early on. And so I became the de facto operator for my company. I co-founded it with a dominant visionary. I was the integrator. We didn't have that language, but that's what we built. And if you had asked anyone there, they would have said I was an operator. I was in my mid-20s, mid to late 20s at the time. I was exercising 5, 6, 7 days a week, eating healthy, and my blood pressure was in the 140s, 150s on days.
Yeah.
And no one could tell me what was going wrong. All my blood work everything was fine, and it was just stress. It was because I was behaving in a way that I had learned, but wasn't true to who I am and how I'm wired.
Wow.
I was carrying it. I had developed the capacity through, skill and determination, or probably just being dumb and not recognizing it. But it almost cost me my life, And so you'll have folks, and this is a question for leaders out there is, are you asking folks to show up in a way that actually suits them? Have you put people into a hole because that's what the company needed, but it's not actually who they are? And sure, they might be doing it, but it might be killing them as well. And I mean that, not for everybody, but it's a literal sense, right? The number of folks who have stress-related illnesses and disorders and diseases and panic attacks, so much of that, I'm not going to say it's all this, but a lot of it is that we're just not in a fit for our role. It's asking us to leverage a leadership style that we've learned, but is not core to who we are.
That reminds me of the unique ability, right? Like figuring out and the get it, want it, have the capacity to do it within EOS, right? Like, it's so true. Like you can move somebody from one role to another, which is what happened with me. I would say I was more of in an operator role, and I was moved to like the first time I was moved to integrator role, I would say I moved to more of a synergist role, and I thrived.
Yeah.
Right. And I loved it, and the company thrived. We 22 times net profit in 12 months. And I think it was because the company needed a synergist. They needed someone to help coordinate and get everyone working together on the same page. We had about 20 staff. So, that's probably on the lower scale of where I would work with now. Right. But yeah, it's just interesting. And it's so rewarding for me, maybe not for a visionary or an operator, but for me as a synergist, primarily, to see that, right? To see someone shift and
Yes.
be in a role that is, more designed for who they naturally are. That I thrive when
and I think what it does, because gets it once it can do it, there's a fourth element to that, because I met all those criteria, right?
Yeah.
I knew what it took. I wanted to see us succeed, and I proved over and over again that I could do it. We were doing, double, nearly triple digit growth year after year. But it's like, should I be doing that, right? Is that really the best use of my time? And it gives us language for that, right? It gives a new filter or lens that you can put on it to say, hey, sure, you can do that, but what happens if we put you over here? That's when it's like, oh my goodness, like you said, 22x net profit, right? That is a game-changing transition. And if we don't have the language for it, it's really hard to figure that out, right? It's just kind of guessing and checking. Yeah. But if we can, look at it and say, hey, what does this role really need? It needs an operator. You've done this awesome for years. It's just not the best fit for you. We can see you as a synergist over here. Let's plug in an operator and both of you will shine.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Are operators, and this is more from a personal, is an operator typically good at delegating?
No, I would say every style struggles with delegation in some way, shape, or form, right? So it's not like they've got the corner on being bad at delegating. Everyone struggles with it for different reasons. Operators struggle with it more. And the primary reason, when we can have grace on them, is that their primary function is what they get done. That's the value that they bring to the team. That's the value that they have brought to the team. And to slow down, right, and get less done so that someone else can get something done is just grinds against the gears, right? It is a significant effort for them to change that mentality from this is what I got done to this is what we got done. But when we talked about that synergist learn style, that is the path for operators to become more synergistic, is to think in terms of we instead of I. And when you do, your capacity, it becomes exponential, right? Because it's not limited to the number of hours in a day for you. It's not limited to the amount of energy that you have that, let's be face it, once you reach a certain age is not going up, it's going down, right? Slowly, but you're no longer limited to those things. And my wife is an operator synergist, and so I can say this wholeheartedly, but there's some of my favorite people in the world, right? Because it's my two lowest scores. I'm a visionary processor. I need operator synergist. I need folks who can get stuff done. But the idea that you can have someone that can go into beast mode and turn it on in an instant, right? But knows how and when to turn it on to not just get the job done, but build everyone else up around them so that they can get it done again and again and again. What a beautiful and wonderful thing to witness. What a tremendous asset for your team. So for operators, it's not just, I'm an operator, I don't delegate. It's that as an operator, you're going to find it more difficult than others to embrace delegation, but the return on it is bigger than for others when you do.
It's beautiful. Awesome. That's great. So if someone wants to learn more about you and what you do, how should they get in touch?
Yeah, we've said it a couple of times and just repeat it here at the end of the show, but scalearchitects.com is the one-stop shop. We've got the book there. We've got the styles quiz there. You can find out information about me and Les and our group of Scale Architects. And if you have any questions about the leadership styles, if you'd like for us to do a full team report for you and your team, that's something that we can do. You'll find a place to reach out to us there.
That's awesome. Awesome. On behalf of our viewers, thank you for joining us, Scott. And thank you for sharing your passion on this topic. I'm sure that's going to be impactful. I'm going to share this with my visionary right away, because I think him and I need to have a conversation around this and even maybe the entire leadership team and just, unpack this a little bit. Because I think awareness is super important. And sometimes we can be frustrated and not understand why. And a mental model like this is really good.
Yeah.
to help us. So if
Just
today's
real quickly, for folks who are implementing, there are 3 stages to this. The first one is just understanding yourself, right? Every time we hear about these, we wonder, what am I? That's natural. It's normal. We're all narcissists. It's okay. We can go to Narcissist Anonymous together. But the second and more powerful phase is to understand the team around you, right? The individuals around you, I should say. So, hey, why do we frustrate? Oh, I see now. The third most powerful is how do we leverage all 4 styles and build a balanced team? That's the third phase of this, and that's where you really unlock it.
Yeah, that's cool. Awesome. Thank you. If today's interview added value to you, please subscribe to this channel for future interviews with experts in the world of business.